Welcome to the channel. In this video we are going to cover the story of Laplace and Dragon God's wife Lunaria. The previous episode was on the arrival of the Laplace in the Dragon World. How was his first impression towards the Dragon World? Now in this episode we will learn about the relationship of the Laplace and Lunaria. Let's begin the story. The first impression of the Dragon World was good. After meeting with Lunaria, I was given a room in the Dragon God's mansion. The mansion was one of the most luxurious places in the Dragon World. The number of rooms was large and many servants were working there. What was given to me was a small and simple room, but it was much easier to live in than the cave I used to live in. After all, I had everything I needed: bedding, food, and clothing. The mansion was large and there were many servants. However, there were not so many people to serve as servants. Only Ryujin and his wife, Lunaria. Lunaria didn't leave the house, probably because she was pregnant. The Dragon God was often absent and came back only once every few days, but when he came back, he always appeared in front of her. She was cherished like a treasure. There were many guests, probably because such treasures were loved by other Balaur. Every day, someone visited, talked to her, had a meal, and went home. However, when comparing the time when there were customers and the time when there were no customers, the latter was longer. At that time, Lunaria was almost always on my side. One day she said to me, "If Ryujin adopted you, you are my child and this is your home. Please rest assured." She decided to raise me according to the words of the Dragon God. However, she did nothing to me. I just visited my room, sat by my side sitting in the corner of the room, and turned a benevolent look. A demigod and a noble born, she did not have the concept of educating. It was mainly the servants who took care of me. The servants followed Lunaria's words and treated me like a prince. He served me a meal, took a bath, washed my body, and let me change my clothes. But unfortunately, I had never experienced it, whether it was eating, taking a bath, or getting dressed. I was angry to use tableware when I was eating, and in the bath I shouted when I rubbed my skin with a hard brush for the Balaur, and when I got dressed, I moved violently and immediately broke it. The servants looked at it, frowned at the eyebrows, and scolded me. It's as if a dog can discipline. However, Lunaria was different. But, no matter how much the Dragon God brought, I was like a beast. Servants weren't happy with my existence. My hair is more terrifying than any other creature I have ever seen, and I can see that its body has ferocious power. They thinks I will reveal my true nature and attack Lunaria. However, the servants are also Balaur. It does not go against the will of the Dragon God and Lunaria. Even if I wasn't happy, they obediently obeyed the order. In case of emergency, they act as a shield and protect Lunaria from me. I think they were serving Lunaria and watching me with such a strong will. Did I not do anything? No, I was going to do various things in my own way. Basically, I was staring at Lunaria. Of course, I wasn't always on the lookout for attacking Lunaria. I was thinking of protecting her. I had no knowledge, but I had wisdom. I knew exactly who healed my fatally wounded wounds and helped me out of a lonely space. This is the nest of the person who helped me. The people around me were his flock, and I became a member of that flock. However, it was the first time for me to be part of a flock. As a member of the flock, I did what I could. Every day, I walked around the mansion to see if there were any abnormalities. I looked into all the rooms and looked out through all the windows. I confirmed many times that there was no invasion of foreign enemies. This is the wisdom I acquired when I was a human-shaped demon beast, and when I was fighting a demon beast. If you check your territory every day for any abnormalities, you will naturally find out the danger. Then, the time of the year passed in no time. After 1 year. It may seem like a long time, but for us living for tens of thousands of years, and sometimes it's like 2 or 3 days. Ryujin decided to give me an educator. Outside a voice heard. "Well, is it a child that you were picked up by the Dragon God?" It's the ominous hair you heard in the rumor. The person who came in that way was a very radical person. One day, he suddenly jumped into the dragon's mansion, and when he came to me, who was quiet in the corner of the mansion, he began to slam his words unilaterally. "Because the Dragon God asked you to be your educator, I will take responsibility for completing it. I will not discriminate because you are a mixed race with the demons. Treat it as just a scaleless dragon." The educator was a woman. It is a Balaur with exceptionally large wings and beautiful white scales. She kept slamming words without worrying about me being confused. Of course, that word doesn't make sense to me, because I doesn't understand the word. After all, I still don't understand the words of the Balaur. Lunaria raised me, but didn't tell me anything. One day, I groaned and threatened the woman. She comes close to me and said, "Come on. First, let's beat him up and let him understand his position." I didn't move against the woman who kept provoking. Because I heard my voice and there was a movement in the mansion. A group of friends is approaching. Servants of Lunaria. I waited for it first. The first to appear were the servants. When I saw the Chamberlain, I thought that my companions had arrived and I was ready for the battle. If everyone plays against one person at the same time, the winning percentage will increase. Because that person will sure strong. It is the wisdom of the Makai era, but it is a universal law that still continues. This has finally revealed its true identity. But the servants didn't work as I expected. They surrounded me, not a woman. They rejected me, who exposed my claws and fangs in hostility. I didn't understand. I was supposed to be part of a flock of servants. Even the servants gave me food. But they've turned hostility towards me, not against foreign enemies to fight. Well, they were wary of me from the beginning, of course. Anyway, I was shocked and at the same time remembered the loneliness I once felt. They surrounded me. I felt sad that I would be alone here as well. But suddenly atmosphere got changed. A servant shouts, "What are you doing?" A quiet and transparent voice echoed there. Lunaria-sama. As she slowly entered the room, she looked uncomfortable at me, with her claws and fangs exposed and surrounded. To be honest, I thought she was the same as the servants. Servants stopping her, "Lunaria, it's dangerous. Please go down." Lunaria slipped through the servants and sprinted closer to me. There was no time for the servants to stop. No, the servants tried to stop, but Lunaria passed through them like a mirage. Actually, I don't know in detail what kind of power she had. It means that date is not the wife of Ryujin-sama. She gently hugged me, who was frightened, and said, sending a blaming gaze to the people around her. She said, "You guys seem to have forgotten the words of the dragon god who told you to take care of this child, right?" She further said sorry, to me. The Chamberlains immediately crossed their fists in front of their chests and folded their wings. I remember this time well. After all, I've never been overwhelmed by anyone like this. But I was looking for something like this. I was hungry for help, and living in harmony with each other. So, even if I later learned the origin of Lunaria, my anger and hatred did not turn to her. I still admire her. Lunaria saw the servants who surrounded me and looked at the woman. She said to woman, "What happened to you, Yusho? What kind of business did you enter into my mansion?" Yusho was the dragon general. She also crossed her fist against Lunaria and folded her wings. However, unlike the Chamberlains, she wasn't screaming. Yusho replied, "I was asked by Ryujin to be a Laplace educator." In her words, Lunaria made a blank face for a moment. But I guess I was listening to the story. I immediately softened my attitude. Lunaria said, "I'm sorry, is that because I didn't listen to Laplace?" Yusho replied, "That's right, but it's okay. I'm used to educating rampages." When she said so without any ill will, Lunaria exhaled with peace of mind. Then I stroked my wing and stood up. Next she said to me, "Laplace. You learn properly." Lunaria said so and went out of the room with a fluffy gait. The servants also followed it. And I and she were left in the room. By the way, I think she was selected as my educator because of her. She is the only one who can educate the wild children picked up in the demon world. Well, I didn't say that I did what she expected. I never peeled my fangs or put out my nails and stared at her. Of course, it doesn't growl or yell. I kept listening to her voice in silence. She instructs me, show respect and obedience to me. I don't tell lies. Think everything is true and try to understand from the bottom of my heart. I don't say you can't whine. It's a waste of time. I'll definitely raise you into a full-fledged dragon man. Quote. She folded her arms and fluttered her wings. Looking down at me, it looks great, but this is her. I say something great, but I always do it. She is a wonderful person. Suddenly she starts talking to me. I'll come back tomorrow. Don't change your attitude. Good. When she said that, she turned her back. But I still had something to tell her. I did something towards her who turned her back. Then she moved at a tremendous speed. But I want to say something to her. I was able to stop her. Because there was no attack to do. I was just in a familiar pose for her. A pose with fists folded and wings folded. Yes, it is the most salutable hour. Laplace, I just said one word. I could only say that to me who didn't know the language. Oh, by the way, I didn't really understand what she said. She replied, Dora. I'm Dora, the dragon general of the Koryu tribe. Remember it well. Dora. She called herself so. For the first time, as if I realized I wasn't calling myself. So I remembered. The first thing I learned from her educator was her name. And from the next day, my education by Yusho Dora started. Here the episode 4 ended. In the next episode we will learn about how Laplace got his training from Dragon King General Dora. Episode will upload soon, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more anime updates.